Tell us about the time we faced them. All right. Well, as I remember. At Avenger headquarters. Because united the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel D&C Evolution podcast with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
How are we doing, chaps? It doesn't seem like it's been long and we're back already, just 3 days, and we're back talking to each other. How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing great. I went and saw this movie on Sunday, and I enjoyed it. I had a few things that, really stuck with me after it. And, man, it is really, out of any of these Marvel movies I feel like I've seen in the last, year or so, this one has got me thinking, I think, the most out of all of them.
Yeah, for sure. Jarian, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I agree with Alex. And it was good to see it in 3D and in IMAX. So, if you haven't seen it in 3D or IMAX, I recommend you go check it out because there's some things you catch in IMAX.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, right on the top of this episode, you can see it on the screen right there in front of you. We've got a spoiler alert. We are going to be, up here. We are going to be talking about Multiverse of Madness today. And we are going to be... we're not going to be spoiling it. We're not trying to spoil it, but we're going to talk about it. So if you haven't seen it, or if you don't want to be spoiled, it'd be best to just switch off and catch this. You can get it recorded, listen back to us on all the normal channels later, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, it's all on there. So if you want to listen to this episode, please do. But obviously we are going to be talking about Multiverse of Madness. We've got some news pieces coming up, which are based around the movie and that can spoil the movie. And obviously the three of us are going to go into it and talk about all the details of this movie. But if you're listening, I could see Raymond there. How you doing, mate? Nice to see you. I know Ruben said he was coming on as well. So hopefully we'll have a few people listening in and joining us and with our conversation. And I've got my Eye of Agamotto on as well. So I thought I'd wear it. And it does this as well. I might have to turn it off in a minute, but if I do this.
Oh, that's cool.
Gotta do the hand motion.
Yeah, I don't really know what it is. I'll end up going like rock and roll. Yeah, it looks very cool. So I'm going to put that away though. But I thought I'd wear it. It's usually up on the shelf behind me, but I thought I'd wear it today.
That's awesome.
In honor of Fantastic Four in the MCU, I'm wearing the Four hoodie today. So Ruben is on. So hey Tim, hey Ruben, thanks for joining us today.
Excellent. Yeah, loving it. Great stuff. Okay, so we won't beat around the bush. We're just going to get straight into it. It's kind of a special episode, really, I guess. We're recording on a Wednesday. We're live. We're not on the group. We're just on the page because obviously the group spoiler policy is still in place. We've got nothing else to talk about except Multiverse of Madness. But we are going to follow the similar structure to normal. Jarian's got some news pieces based around Multiverse of Madness and what's happened since it's been released and what could happen going forward. So over to you, mate. What have you got?
Yeah, so first of all, let's talk the box office. So it is 7th in top 10 domestic opening weekends. It did 185 million just behind Age of Ultron with 191 million opening. It's the biggest opening of 2022 and 100 million more than Doctor Strange's 2016 opening weekend. So It's the largest difference in MCU history from original to sequel. It's done 265 million internationally and 450 million at the global box office.
Wow.
The only ones to do less for the domestic side has been Captain America Civil War, Iron Man 3, and Captain Marvel.
When I saw that figure of 400...
Nope.
Alex froze.
I've used my time stone. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll cut in then while he's sorting himself out.
He's back. What were you saying, Alex? You froze there.
Alex,
I'm sorry, guys. I was just saying when I
used the time stone, Alex.
He's coming to bargain.
I was just saying when I saw that 450 million figure at the box office, I was like, am I looking at the right number? Because that is massive. I did not expect that right off the bat. Massive number there.
Yeah, it is a big number, isn't it? Fred's there as well. How you doing, Fred? Good to see you. Something I've been thinking about, and the guys that are listening, and you guys obviously as well, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you look at any character that's had an original, a first movie, and a second movie, I think that Doctor Strange may have been in more other movies since his first movie than any other character in until his sequel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, you think he showed up obviously in he was at the end of Ragnarok, wasn't he? Then he was in Infinity War. Then he was in Endgame.
No, beginning of Ragnarok. Beginning.
The beginning of Ragnarok,
Yeah.
sorry. Yes, at the beginning of Ragnarok. Then he was in Infinity War. Then he was in Endgame. And then he was again in No Way Home. So we've seen him 4 times. And not only have we seen him 4 times, all quite big, you know, roles. I mean, huge roles, in fact. And then obviously he's turned up in his sequel, which I don't know whether that's got part to play in the big jump from the first one to the second one in regards to the box office takings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Strange is the playmaker there, so it's kind of like one of those things where it all goes back to him being like a center point, you know, like Strange is such a good character to use to kind of direct things.
Yeah. Raymond agrees, 100%. Yeah, and Fred's saying, yeah, a lot of people started liking Doctor Strange with Infinity War instead of his own movie. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So, continuing with the news, so Ian McKellen, who did play Magneto in the Fox X-Men movies, has made a comment about his on-screen daughter. He said, "If I had a daughter, I hope she'd be like Elizabeth, a treat to her daddy, to be her daddy." So that's interesting. So he approves of it, and you know, you can tell looking at his arc in the X-Men movies and kind of looking at her arc in the MCU, kind of some similar things there.
Mm-hmm.
Some parallels there between the two.
Yeah.
So-
And Ruben's just said there as well, actually. And if Strange hasn't shown up, Wong's shown up.
Yep.
Obviously, Wong played a big part in Shang-Chi. So, you know, the Doctor Strange group has shown up quite a lot since this first to the second movie. But yeah, great. Ian McKellen, what a legend.
And the funny thing about that too is I feel like even Scarlet Witch's costume kind of shows some resemblance in some ways to Magneto's costume, you know.
Yeah, that rich red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this sort of almost like metallic-y looking sort of panels to it in places.
Yeah.
Hi, Roxy. Roxy's there as well.
And then about runtimes, Sam Raimi says that Multiverse of Madness was originally 40 minutes longer, and that was probably before they made the final cuts to the film. But it originally was 40 minutes longer, so be interesting to see what they show once the DVD comes out or the cutscenes or the digital copy comes out. Tim did make a comment here though. I want to put up on the screen about Olsen. I'm not sure on this one, but he said, didn't Olsen say she'd rather have McKellen than Fassbender as her dad?
Mm-hmm.
So
That's interesting.
yeah.
Could be his granddad.
Yeah. Michael Waldron did address Tom Cruise via Rolling Stone. So there is a lot of hype around this film. I'm just going to go out and say, I think No Way Home set people's expectations out of whack because of the cameos in No Way Home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they set people's expectations way too high. But the whole Tom Cruise, Superior Iron Man thing, Michael Waldron via Rolling Stone had this to say. He says, yeah, that was totally made up. I mean, there's no cut footage of Tom Cruise. But I love Tom Cruise, and I said to Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, at one point I was like, could we get Tom Cruise as Iron Man? I remember reading about that in Ain't It Cool News back in the day that Tom Cruise was going to be Iron Man. So Rolling Stone asked him to be totally clear, did anyone reach out to Tom Cruise? Waldron replied, I don't believe so. I just don't think it was ever an option because of availability. And just to add to that, you're not going to cast Tom Cruise or have Tom get out of his busy schedule, come in, film him as Superior Iron Man, and then cut him from the movie.
No,
There are people who still do not believe that statement, even if it's from direct from the horse's mouth. They still don't believe it. Any of these high cameos that people thought that were going to happen, you don't bring them in to cut them.
Yeah, you think Tom Cruise wouldn't tell everybody that he filmed a scene for that movie?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. And he wouldn't care if Marvel was like, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's Tom Cruise. He's going to do what he wants.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a nice comment here from Fred. He will say, I will say that Wanda stole the show for this movie. I left the theater thinking about her a lot more than about Strange, which is a good point because the way it ended, you want to know what happens,
Yeah.
Well, she got done.
Another one comment here from the chat from Raymond, or that was Fred. Here's Raymond. John as Reed and Black Bolt in the movie were big enough cameos for me. Which I agree. Even Professor X and even having Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel. So I think they did just the right balance without taking away from the main story of Strange and Wanda. But back to the news here. So Waldron has said a couple interesting nuggets in there as well. He also talked about the Illuminati. He said that Aliens movies inspired the Illuminati. So what he had to say was, I was watching Aliens a lot as I was writing, because just totally this movie is a thriller and a feature-length chase. I just love how Aliens goes to great lengths to tell you how badass the Space Marines are, and then they just get slaughtered. Then you're really scared of the Xenomorphs for the rest of that movie, and that's what I wanted to accomplish with Wanda. At the end of the Illuminati sequence, I hope you were truly terrified of Scarlet Witch. It's been awesome being in the theater, hearing cheers, then the gasp, and then the groans. I mean, you know, people were feeling something at the movies. That's good. So definitely inspiration there with the Illuminati. He also had a couple things on here about the ending with Wanda, because like Fred's comment, you know, thinking about Wanda a lot after he left the theater, he said, I think it's up for interpretation. She made some kind of sacrificial act that destroyed the dark hole in every universe, which is protecting Wanda in every universe from being seduced by the dark hole. Whether she's dead or not remains to be seen. I know what it's like to love characters and not to want them to be gone and to hate when they do bad things, but that's the part of fun of watching stuff and getting swept up in it. So that's interesting too, that he went to address that, because she could have easily be still alive. We saw that last flash of her red magic, so she could have teleported somewhere. She could have entombed herself, you know, protected herself, whatever. But I don't think she's gone.
Yeah,
she'll be back.
Just quickly, Ruben, hold that thought. We'll come back to what your comment is in a little while.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll hold that thought. We'll come back to that. Carry on, Joe.
Yeah, and then circling back to the Illuminati, Waldron did make some comments about Namor, because, you know, he's part of the original Illuminati. And he said, we talked about him because he's certainly an original member of the Illuminati, but I think Marvel has other plans for him in the MCU. And so he didn't make his way in this particular movie. That's kind of a combination of us putting forth, well, what if we did this? But also Kevin's as excited about this stuff as we are. So sometimes those ideas are coming from Kevin saying, well, what if we got so-and-so? I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the call. So he's excited about all that stuff as any of us. It's a big geeky team effort to see what we can assemble for that team. And then I've got one more thing about the cameos here before we get into the discussion. So you guys want to know about what was cut from the film, right? This is what I've seen out there in the news. Well, before I get to this, Raymond's got a good point. Cough, EP2. And then Wakanda Forever and that arc for Namor. And then Fred has a comment about Wanda. I don't think Wanda can redeem herself through other people's movies. She's going to need her own movie for this, which I agree. Or need another series, her own movie, or something. But the last bit of news I have is that the cuts from the movie, right? So we already debunked all those cameos that's supposed to happen. It sounds like the only major stuff that was cut from Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was Comatage stuff, so more Rintraw. Balder the Brave was supposedly on the Illuminati, but he got cut. And then Wanda killing 616 Mordo at the start. So Wanda killing the main MCU Mordo from the main Stranges universe. That's all that got cut.
I wonder if they cut Balder because he's going to be showing up in Love and Thunder.
Possibly, or they plan to use him later, or maybe they just didn't fit in. But there goes my whole lineup for. So let's talk about that. Our Illuminati lineups. Yeah. Let's leave with that.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. So Alex, what was your lineup again?
I think me and you pretty much mostly agreed, except for I think I said Iron Man because I just had that feeling that Tom Cruise was coming. So glad we didn't get him. I'm honestly so glad we didn't get him, but I just felt like I was going to walk in there and be like, oh no, here's Tom Cruise in this movie.
Oh no.
But, so But I did get the Top Gun trailer before the movie, so
Yes, which that was really good, by the way.
Tom Cruise.
That was
yeah,
really
so
good.
I got a little bit of Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I really want to go and watch that now. I was
Mhm.
not interested in the slightest, but the trailer's done its job.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think they I loved Captain Carter and I loved Rambo, and all of that. But I do think they missed the trick there of getting a bit of a collection of the original Illuminati together, even if it was just a mention of a Stark. Because I had the whole feeling when they landed in that universe, the technology. I mean, I know that Reed is very clever and very technologically advanced, but it had a feeling of Stark technology. The whole sort of even the outside, the lights and everything had that kind of advanced technological sort of feeling to it. And then obviously the Ultron, the bots as well. And I was sitting there thinking, I never thought for one moment that we would see Robert Downey Jr. And I didn't really think that we'd see Tom Cruise either, but I was expecting at one point that we might get some sort of mention that this world was helped to be built up by a Stark,
or run by a Stark AI even.
So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so just go back to my Illuminati casting. To round mine out, I think I was pretty right, except for the 7th of Balder, and I had the wrong universe Mordo for my Illuminati lineup. But this is a good question here. My question is, who's Ultron bots? And honestly, I'm going to say these were Reed's, because if I remember correctly in the comics, Reed and Pym worked together on the Ultron bots. And Reed being as smart as he is, I can totally see that this was all Reed, especially with him mention of his kids, and he still has his wife and the Baxter Foundation. I think that's all Fantastic Four side of the house there with the Ultron bots, with all the technology there. And one fun fact real quick too, a familiar voice has come back to the MCU. Ross Marquand, he did voice Ultron in this movie. He also was the one to voice Red Skull in Endgame as well.
Quality. I'd love to see him in the MCU. I think he's brilliant. I literally just posted about an hour or two ago about saying Lauren Cohen from The Walking Dead turning up in the MCU, and I think Ross McQuarrie is brilliant. He's one of my favourite actors in The Walking Dead at the moment, so it'd be great. Yeah, Ruben, I guess you're right that Reed did succeed with the Ultron bots. I want to touch on Black Bolt.
Oh yeah,
because I loved it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and his costume was corny, but it was brilliant when he come down and he had the wings. I was like, yes, that's great. The stupid fork on his head was amazing. I thought the way he used his power in that flashback scene, I mean, that was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Like, it wasn't, and the words that he said as well. I'm sorry. The reason that he had to use his power. Just spot on. And when he laughed, when he got killed, it was I kind of went, oh, but at the same time laughed. It was kind of funny, but also like really horrific at the same time. So his whole inclusion, I actually really enjoyed. I love the fact that he used sign language. I was going to try and do sign language. I can't do sign language, but he was. I love the fact that he used sign language. I thought his whole inclusion was excellent.
Speaking of the sign language too, I was reading some more stuff about him doing that, and he made up his own sign language for the movie to not be the standard sign language, kind of saying that it was a different universe type of thing.
Oh, excellent. That's clever. But yeah, I really thought it was cool.
So this is a good comment from Fred here. So Fred has always wanted to do something with the Inhumans, and I feel like he's trying to push them again. I'm not sure if he's trying to push them again, because it sounds like with Ms. Marvel, that's not going to be her origin. For her series. I think this was kind of Feige's kind of maybe close the door on the Inhumans possibly, or just give some fan service for Inhumans because of what has happened in the past.
I reckon it was just a little, look, we know we've still got them. They'll come, but not yet. That's what that was.
Yeah, I liked that little classic costume with the little tuning fork, to be honest, with Black Bolt. It was very traditional. But I did want to say one thing back on the Ultron bots. Wasn't Ultron based on the personality of Tony Stark and Bruce Banner and a couple of other elements? So if the Ultron bots were based on, say, Reed and somebody else, wouldn't that possibly be the reason why they would function?
Yep. In the MCU, it was Vision, Tony. It was like a mixture of a little bit of everything. So, yep, you're exactly right.
Because Tony Stark is too much of a wild card, I guess.
Yeah.
Arrogant
wild card. So
yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think of the other members? So Captain Carter, I can
The
do this all
jetpack.
day.
The
Yeah, the jetpack
jetpack
was cool, but this line, I was just like, no, because she just said that, I'm like,
Yeah.
right here, I knew exactly as she said that line, I was just like, nope, you're not gonna be able to do this all day, and that's what happened. So, but yeah, the jetpack looked great.
I think it's funny that like the 5 members of the Illuminati that, and I hate to say it this way, that were killed by Wanda were all kind of killed in like a way that was kind of like fitting to them. Like Black Bolt had his mouth
Yep.
removed. Like, Reed was like literally pulled apart like spaghetti. Like, like Professor X was overpowered through his mind, like by Wanda, and she broke his neck and then broke his mind basically mentally. Then you have like, she got in that big battle with Captain Marvel where she had like the energy projection fight, but then she ended up just dropping a statue on her,
I don't think Captain Marvel's dead, because you just saw her hand drop, and she could have used her energy power to protect her, and maybe she was knocked out. So I think if we do see Illuminati again, we're going to see Mordo, we're going to see Captain Marvel, and then we're going to see Christine still around as part of that Illuminati in that universe. They'll probably have new recruits.
And Wanda had that sick moment like Bucky with the shield, where she caught the shield and threw it back at her and cut her in half. So it was like, whoa, dude. Like, so like everybody kind of, I guess, they had their own way used against them, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. And then Raymond goes here, I was excited for her inclusion, and she stole Steve's line. Didn't really like it much. She had her own catchphrase, which, true. Which, speaking of that, she was the, what if ties here, right? Between her and then between some of the strange stuff we saw and Gargantos, all some what if ties as well.
Yeah,
and
I quite enjoyed Captain Carter, to be totally honest. I thought she was really good. I like Hayley Atwell. I think she's excellent, and I think that the outfit looked great, and I liked everything about it. I was gutted when she died. That was actually probably the worst one out of all of those Illuminati members dying. Actually, when she died, it was quite tragic, actually. But before we move on, was you going to talk about Reed, because we haven't spoken about Reed really?
Yep. I was going to say about Reed. I was going to say the Illuminati in general. They had that sinister, dark tone, just like the comics, right? They're kind of always, trying to do something. They had that, and they all kind of carry that tone, even sitting in the chamber. And notice we had that 7th chair empty for their Strange, who they killed because of his use of the Darkhold, even though they defeated Thanos. And we got a shot of Thanos actually dead on the ground with what, 5 of the stones? He was only missing the Mind Stone in that picture, it looked like. So,
and on Titan, right?
Yep, on Titan. So, yeah. But and getting to Reed Richards, the Easter egg, he mentioned his kids' names, Franklin and Valeria, and know that Sue was out there too in that universe, because he said, I have a wife, I have a kids, they're all still alive.
Yeah, I was I don't know, Jamie said panic over it. Hi Jamie, all right. Yeah, I agree with him. I hope that's not the end of seeing
Captain Carter.
But back on Reed, I think he looked great as Reed, actually, and I'm not surprised. And I've been waiting for the spoiler ban to end on a group, because I've got a little picture of Reed from War of the Realms, and they Jason. Well, it wasn't Jason Aaron that drew it, obviously, was it? But whoever the artist was, basically drew John Krasinski's face as Reed, and then you look at the picture of him from the still from the movie, and they might as well have just used that and just drawn his face.
It's like Fury with the Ultimates. Yeah,
exactly like that. Yeah, but I thought he was great, and now this is kind of where I don't know, I'm a little bit torn in 2 places here. Obviously, they've used Anson Mount as Black Bolt, and I cannot imagine that this is
why.
A stretch. Well, no, I do. I know exactly why. It's just a little bit of fan service, isn't it? To nod to the Inhumans series. They're not going to use Anson Mount going forwards as Black Bolt. They're just not, are they? Really? I can't imagine why. And that would give a regular viewer the same sort of opinion of Reed. They'd be like, oh, they've just put him in there for some reason. They killed him. And when we see a new Reed, it won't be the same guy, because we're not going to see the same Black Bolt. So couldn't have Grufford have done it as a bit of homage to those Fantastic Four movies? And then we get Krasinski as the Reed going forwards. It was almost like a little, not a missed opportunity, because I don't know whether people would have got it. Actually, I think probably more people would have got it if it was Grufford than the fact that it's Krasinski.
So a couple of things here. I just want to acknowledge Fred because we're talking about him. He's like, what do you guys think about him to be the main Reed Richards?
Yeah.
And do you think that's happening? So perfect time for that comment, Fred, as we're having this discussion. A couple things. Maybe Ian Gruffer didn't want to return. One. Two, the reason why they chose Krasinski too is for fan service as well. Remember how much they want him and Emily Blunt as Reed and Storm. So it could to satisfy the fans and to shut them up. Three, as far as Fred's question, I would mind seeing him come back, but I don't think he's coming back unless he does something with his Paramount contract. So I've been doing some research into this and reading. Last year he signed like a 2-year or 3-year exclusive first look with Paramount. He just got his one show canceled out season 4 when he's doing what's his name? The Rainbow Six guy from the novels.
Clancy.
Yeah, Clancy.
Oh, Tom Clancy.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's not Tom Clancy. It's based on Tom Clancy.
Jack Ryan.
Yeah, Jack Ryan.
Oh.
So season 4 is the last season of that, which is getting after that is done. But he's also doing A Quiet Place Part 3, which he's writing, directing, and I'm not sure if he'll be in it or not as well. But he also has another movie coming out with Ryan Reynolds as well later this year. And I think this year or next year, I'm sorry. And if they're starting to film and do stuff in 2023 for Fantastic Four, I'm not sure if he'll be available for it. But yeah, just some comments from here, though, real quick. Love to see him return from Raymond. And then Tim.
Tim's one there. Yeah, see, this is what I think, Tim. What he said there. Go on, read it out, Jarian. Go on.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind him as Reed, but would they have his first introduction of him as being killed? That makes me think they'll use someone else. And me too. Like I said, I think this is all fan service. So go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to say, we just saw, what was it, Watts leave the Fantastic Four project too?
Break.
I mean, could that have something to do with maybe Reed Richards appearing in this movie? I mean, I'm not saying it does, but I'm just saying
maybe
timing-wise, that is kind of a strange kind of coincidence in my mind.
It could be because maybe he didn't want to include him in the movie because of his project coming up. But everything I heard that Watts leaving was amicable. They want him back, that he wants to take a break, and he's working on some other stuff. So, but a good thing, too, they need a director for that movie now. And Krasinski can direct and write and act. So a triple threat for him. But everything I've heard for a new director is someone that Disney has already worked with. And lately, I keep hearing more smoke around Bryce Dallas Howard. So,
yeah, I saw that earlier today, actually, saying that they should get her to do something. I think the Illuminati lineup was decent, and I wish actually that they would have not given away the Xavier in the trailer. To be totally honest, I wish they would have saved that one because that was, for me, it was great seeing him on screen again. I mean, he's like 82, isn't he? 81, 82, Patrick Stewart, and you know, it's probably the last time we're going to see him in a Marvel movie. I mean, let's hope not, but 81, 82.
He said he wants to return as well,
I mean,
in an interview. So, I have to mention one more thing. I have my notes here about Fantastic Four real quick.
Oh, go on.
Did you catch that joke by Doctor Strange about the 60s reference?
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was like a throw, kind of like Easter egg hint to, will Fantastic Four be based in the 60s and then they get stuck in the quantum realm or the negative zone, or if it's quantum realm, they're going to come through Quantum Mania and that's how they're going to get out type of stuff. That was an interesting comment there in the movie.
That would be wicked. That sounds great, don't it? Having a Fantastic Four movie set in the 60s, having all the 60s sort of, flair about it, and then have them brought forward, those 60s people brought forward into the... Yeah, that sounds brilliant.
It all goes back to that theory about them potentially working with like Hank Pym, like back to S.H.I.E.L.D., like
Our
in
theory.
like the 70s, and then going into the quantum realm and not coming out until the future.
And that's why he freaked out in Endgame when the thing started glowing and leaking, and he took off when they had to distract him. A couple of comments here, though. There was still more noise in my cinema when he arrived than when Krasinski arrived. And this is for Professor X. And he says, this is a good point here, the music. When he came in the classic wheelchair,
X-Men.
The music, from the cartoon. So some good stuff there.
Yep. No, that was cool. Sorry, just going back to the to what Tim was saying about the reaction in the cinema to Patrick Stewart. To be honest, I think my personal reaction to the deaths, as much as Captain Carter's one was probably the most sort of horrific, really. The Patrick Stewart one, I actually wasn't expecting it, even though I should have expected it. They've all been, killed, and you're like, oh, I can see what's happening now. But I still wasn't expecting it. And then, boom, done, dead.
I didn't expect it to be as quick. Like, I thought there was going to be like an astral mental projection fight or something between him and Wanda, and she just went straight for the throat. Like, all right.
So, another from Ruben here. I'd love to be them from the 60s. Yes, please take my money.
It's an era we haven't seen in the MCU.
Yeah.
And it says that would prevent any Carol and Ben link, though, which is true. If they go in the 60s, we're not going to see any kind of tie between Captain Marvel and Ben both being pilots and that kind of stuff. So that's a good point, Jamie.
Yeah.
So Illuminati here, right? So we know that our main MCU is 616 now, and the Illuminati is 838. Is this a more setup for Secret Wars? Are those going to be the two main universes going at it in Secret Wars when it comes down to the end? Also, too, 616. This is bothering me. Far From Home, Quentin Beck, 616 was mentioned. So how the heck did he know the main MCU is 616? Was it just some kind of guess? Or is there more to Mysterio here than we know? Because when I first saw it in 3D, I didn't notice this. When they're falling through universes, and I think just before the Paint universe, you see a universe where there is a drone similar to the drones we saw in Far From Home. So is there any truth to Mysterio's lies? That's confusing me.
I don't think so. I think it was just one of those moments in, he's just made it up in that movie, and then they've gone, oh, we need to use it in this, or we're going to use it in this movie, and most people would have probably forgotten about it, apart from nerds like us.
But if they're if they know he made it up, they're gonna use it though. Why tie the two together? That doesn't. You could have named it anything else. You could have gone with the 1-9, whatever, the whole 9-1. That's the regular.
Unless the MCU has somehow diverged timelines in the middle, and we went from 1-9-9-9-9-9 whatever to 616 at some point.
Catching up on chat here. I thought if anyone had a chance, it was Charles, but they kept Mordo alive. From Raymond there. And then Fred here. I'm expecting the MCU X-Men movies to be heavily inspired by the 19 cartoon in tone, characters, costumes, set, especially with X-Men Animated Series 97, which I agree, because that's exactly, this seems like they're going on here. And then about the whole thing about Beck. Beck just made up he's the master of illusion, but is there something there, though? I want someone to confirm if I saw that drone. Because
it's a big thing for him to be right about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he could have chosen any three numbers in any order, and he's happened to have chosen the right numbers. I mean, there's a trillion to one to get that right,
And if Beck would have came and said that he's from 838, I would have lost it even more, because the Illuminati's 838, but Beck said he was from 833. If he would have said 838 as well, I'm just like, wait a second, was Beck on doing an incursion maybe happening here? So.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that he knew about multiverses when it wasn't even really a thing, I mean, he completely made it up, but it actually does exist. But then Evan said that if the multiverse exists, then everything exists, and everything doesn't exist at the same time. So, but let's bust into that Secret Wars sort of element of this, because I think that's exactly where this is going. There's too much. I mean, they must have said incursion about 20 times in that movie. So it's got to be where this is leading, and that whole Hickman run, and right from the very beginning of that, when they first sort of learnt about incursions, right through to the end of Secret Wars, was brilliant. It was probably one of the best sort of modern, long-term, overarching stories that's gone over a few years. So I'm really excited to see how they build up to Secret Wars, and I hope they do build up to it as well. I hope this is like 3 or 4 years down the line, 4 or 5 years maybe. I hope it's not like the next movie and they kind of just get it done with another movie. I want this to last.
I think it's going to be a while. And Loki put us on the train on those tracks, and for everything I've read, that's what the Russos want to come back for. So I think that's going to be the next big build-up.
Yeah, what do you guys think that are reading, that are listening about the Secret Wars? If you've read it, and obviously with all the talk of encouragement, what you thinking? Let us
A
know.
couple of things about chat here. So I'm not crazy then. So Raymond saw the drones as well, but he can't confirm the same tower built like Bex. And then Tim said there's got to be a load of Easter eggs in there. And then it goes the paint universe though. That was interesting as well. And speaking of incursions and Secret Wars, America Chavez went through 73 universes in this film. 72 she traveled through, plus when she arrived into the main 616 being 73. So what kind of incursions did she cause?
Yeah. I think she's a big takeaway from this film, because I watched this movie and I walked out and I was like, I think people are going to like sleep on how important her character is going to be in the future. And I think that because like we know that she only existed in like one universe, correct? Didn't they say that in that movie?
Yep.
And she's been universe hopping. That seems like a big threat to somebody like Kang.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, and which leads back into Roxy said this earlier in the chat, so I want to put this up here. That relationship between the two, from the start to the end, how they built their relationship and then arc they went on with each other.
Yeah, it was almost like a father-daughter relationship, wasn't it? She didn't trust him at all at the beginning. She didn't trust anybody, did she? But he's sort of shown her that he was different. But then, that's what Charles saw in him. He sort of read his mind. He saw that he was different. That's why he sort of gave him all of those little sort of ideas on how to get out and what to do. And, he saw that he was different, and he is a different Strange. And that's why they ended up, getting on so well.
And since you mentioned Kang, I want to circle back to Ruben's comment
about
he agreed with the writers coming about not having Kang in Multiverse of Madness. Would have been great and fitting, but wasn't needed. Need to focus on Wanda, which I exactly agree. End credits would have been fine, I think, but in the main story, no. And since we're talking about incursions in credits here, so do you want to talk about Clea?
Yeah, can do. Just coming back to that Kang thing, I totally agree with that. I don't think he wasn't needed as a main antagonist in this movie, not at all. But just in the same way that we kind of saw Thanos almost in Guardians, 2, where he just sort of showed up for a minute and you was like, oh, okay, this guy is still here. We saw him at the end of Loki and we haven't seen him since. We haven't really had reference to him yet. Are we going to get a reference to him in Love and Thunder? Probably not. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Probably won't in Miss Marvel. Again, will we in Black Panther? I don't know. And then he's in Quantumania. And it's like, there's almost...
Loki season 2 also.
Yeah, true. But I think we're going to get Quantumania before Loki season 2, aren't we?
Yep.
So you kind of sort of think, oh, well, you've kind of shown, here he is. And then you kind of wanted him to sort of just play, have his sort of finger in the pie. And then he's kind of just disappeared. And we haven't seen him at all. So that's kind of all I was hoping. Maybe like Jarian said, an end credit scene or just a little mention or something of him somewhere, We was all kind of vaguely looking for him in Moon Knight as well. It's like, that he's on the back of that coat, and that's about as, trying to find these really ambiguous connections to him. So it'd be nice to have had something really solid to get us by until Quantumania, But hey.
So I want to catch up on chat real quick since we talked about Secret Wars and Kang and that kind of stuff. So Ruben says he's hoping it's big multi-part, which I do as well. I think I had some kind of theory I posted about a 3-movie type arc with Kang. And then here's one from Raymond. Building up towards Secret Wars for sure. It'll definitely multiple parts, probably 3 or 4 definitely. And then Ruben again says what would have been cool, Kang at the end credits sitting on a throne and looks up saying, what's going on here? And then back to our America conversation. Do we know where America's from? Do all people on our planet have that ability? Which we don't know, because her parents could have had that ability. We just didn't see them try to use it or do anything. Maybe some do, maybe all do, maybe only she does. That's a good question there. And then Fred goes, what's come first, Quantumania or Loki season 2? I'm not sure, because Quantumania is pretty much in production or further along production. Now they're coming, in January next year?
No,
Quantumania it got moved up.
Yeah,
it got switched. So I think Quantumania does come first, because Loki season 2 has not started filming yet. And they don't start filming until June, from what
there's no
Tom
way
Hiddleston
that's coming out. There's no way
Yeah.
that's coming out until before February.
So could Quantum Mania lead into Loki season 2 somehow?
Possibly.
I mean, that would be kind of like a weird thing that I
Yeah.
wouldn't see coming, you know? Like, you would kind of think kind of the reverse there, but
Yeah, no, that does make sense though, don't it? If we know that Jonathan Majors is going to be a big part in Quantum Mania, and obviously where Loki season 1 left us,
yeah.
it makes sense for him to turn up. You know. in
So I got a
season
thought. Yeah, I got a thought on that. So maybe we see a different variant in Quantum
Yeah.
Mania,
Hmm.
and then in Loki season 2, we're going still back through some things got answered. What happened with the TVA? What happened with the loop of the multiverse and the end thing we saw there? So maybe there's two sets of things going on here about Kang variants and so forth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to talk about the visuals in this movie
Fantastic.
and the
Yes.
and the style of it. I mean, it was very typically a Sam Raimi movie, wasn't it? But you know, a few of the bits and pieces that stood out for me, excluding the one sequence that I think everybody can universally agree on was probably one of the best things that we've seen in the MCU, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Wanda, the mirror scene, her crawling out of the mirror, the demons was excellent. The sort of the zombies and the sort of the way she was walking through those tunnels, where she'd obviously broken her leg and that body had been almost killed basically. I thought there was some really, really great stylistic pieces in this, and I think it gave it a slightly different feel. And I did read before I watched the movie that somebody had said this is Marvel's first horror movie.
Yep.
And I think it's probably about as horror as it can get within the MCU. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Mm.
And speaking of that mirror scene that you talked about, that gave me like flashbacks to Conan the Destroyer when they go to that castle and you have to defeat the wizard and all the glass and the mirrors. You remember that scene?
Vaguely, yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie, but yeah, I do vaguely remember what you mean.
But yeah, definitely agree. This is a Raimi movie. We got the car. We got Bruce Campbell. This is basically Marvel's Evil Dead movie. You think about it, yeah, someone said. But yeah, definitely a Raimi film. Even the arc of some of the people and the music and the way they did stuff. There were some Spider-Man vibes there from the first trilogy.
Yeah, for sure. There was a great music scene, and I don't mean the music fight, which we'll talk about in a minute. But there was a great piece of music that was used, or pieces of music, and it just had a great feeling to it. It almost made me feel uneasy at one point.
Yeah.
But the hand coming out of the crypt, Doctor Strange's zombie hand coming out, that was great. What an absolute brilliant little clip that was. And how great was that anticipation, knowing what he was about to do? Because I was still kind of thinking, where are these zombies going to come into this? Where is he? We know where the zombie actually turns up at Mount Wundagore, but how does he get there? And I'm sitting there going, what's going on? And then as soon as he sort of says what he's about to do, you're like, oh, right. And then you're just sitting there like waiting for that moment to happen. And that was absolutely class. And the way that they just carried on with him as a zombie, like talking with his mouth like half chewed off, and that was great. Absolutely loved it. I thought that was really good.
Go ahead, Alex, and I want to bring up something that nice thought that Dave had in one of our chats. So go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll actually mention Dave too. I don't know if this is what you were about to say. Me and Dave were talking recently too about Wanda's movement, and I couldn't figure out what exact movie I was trying to pinpoint that one where she crawls out of the mirror dimension. And I think he said it was Pennywise is what it reminded me of. Like how Pennywise moves, and almost like that girl from The Ring too, crawling out of the TV.
Yeah, Exorcist coming down. The girl from The Exorcist. Yeah,
yeah. And I mean, this movie had some great dark visuals. One of my favorite was that really quick scene where Wanda flies in behind Professor X and she looks like a demon and she grabs him by the neck and breaks his neck. That one was another really dark one. But yeah, I still feel like they can get really darker. I didn't think this movie was really that dark, to be honest. Like I might be slightly desensitized, but I don't know. Like I didn't think, like, I know people were concerned that it was PG-13, and I didn't think it was extremely dark, to be honest.
No, I think it was. Go on, John.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say I wouldn't say it was extremely dark. I mean, I think once again the psychological elements of it. I mean, and I'm glad we sort of jumped into this actually, because I wanted to bring this up, but it's kind of just naturally happened. Wanda's like mental state throughout this movie was really harrowing. And you know, you kind of think, I think a lot of people, well, I don't think they did, but you could have done if you was a casual fan, thought at the end of WandaVision, she's like, oh good, she's gone and taken herself off to a, you know, to a little house there, and she's nice and comfy, and actually she's just as crazy as she's always been. And that is what Wanda Maximoff was like in the comics as well.
Yep.
She was
Mhm.
mental.
Yep.
And it's great to see. And I think I didn't know whether I'd like it at first, and I didn't at the beginning. I was like, oh, she didn't seem that threatening. And actually now, Jarian, listening to your piece of news at the beginning about what the writer said about having her basically just slaughter the Illuminati fairly easily. Some of them gave them a little bit more trouble than the others, but that actually made you go, oh, actually, yeah, you know, that she's on one, you know, and that was she done well in the end. I was convinced, you know, I was convinced that she was bad and evil, and she'd got problems, you know, but she's not evil. She's just got problems. She's not. I don't think she is evil, and she was corrupted by the Darkhold. So, but yeah. Anyway, that was my fault on one.
Yes, my
this,
comment. Go ahead.
I was going to say, is this the end of this arc for her, though?
No.
You know?
Maybe the Darkhold corruption piece, maybe, but not the end of her arc.
Yeah, does she keep going forward? You know, like at the end of WandaVision, everybody was like, oh, like she created the Hex, like she's learned the error of her ways. And then we go into this movie and we're like, oh, no, like, you know, not even close. Like, not even close. But like, it seems like she learned that at the end of this movie. But we had a very similar scene at the end of this movie with the end of WandaVision, where she was like, you know, like, oh yeah, I gave up my children, yada yada yada. But like, it just went into this, and it was like she completely just kind of gave up on that little bit of growth and went right back, you know.
But that isn't that the whole point when people have got those kind of issues, those psychological issues, that they really struggle getting past certain things. Do you know what I mean? Like they sort of they look like they're going to grow, and then something happens and they get broken again, and it's just this constant cycle of like, is there improvement, but you just can't quite get over that last hurdle, and then you sort of hit the bottom again. And you know, and Wanda is very tragic, isn't she? Like her whole character is a tragic character.
She's basically her father, you know, similar arc to Magneto, you know, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I wanted
Magneto's never really evil, is he? I mean, he is evil, but he's not evil. He's not.
He does what needs to be done, and that's just like Wanda does.
He has the right mindset, but the wrong ways of doing it.
Right intentions. You know, great planning, poor execution.
Yeah.
Just want a couple things real quick, some chat stuff here, but I think it was a great start into Marvel's dark, you know, to start their way on the dark path, especially with other properties we know are coming. And to catch up here in the chat, so Ruben says when Dead Puppet Strange took control of the Lost Souls was awesome, which that was great visuals as well. And then Raymond goes, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, not Evil Dead 4. And then Fred goes, Venom should take notes from this movie. This is how you use PG-13 violence limits. Raymond also goes, the second Strange called her out, I knew 100% she was corrupted and wouldn't be the evil villain. You could tell right there that was set up so perfect, you know, just like on a platter. And then someone goes, Wanda's power level compared to the variant from the Darkhold and her experiences. Raymond goes on the arc, not the end of the arc. She wants to get the boys, and we need them for Young Avengers. So bring it on more if you want Marvel. Ruben goes, Wanda variant was no match, which we saw she was not. And then here's from Fred. This movie single-handedly stopped the strongest Avengers debate.
Yeah. Yes, it did.
And since we talked about with Strange and the zombie and that kind of stuff, I want to bring it up Dave's head, because Dave hit this on the head with this from the group. He said, what if the origin of Marvel zombies came from Defender Strange's corpse with the mix of the Darkhold? It's why it's forbidden. Because notice how the damned souls was said it was forbidden, and why is it forbidden? And that's a great point by Dave. This could kick off zombies. So
yeah. I'd like to see a whole Marvel Zombies movie. Hopefully we'll get that on the back of the animated.
Yep, on the animated.
Yeah.
So I had to think about the books. So Alex and I were chatting this before we started the stream real quick on the book. So it was interesting that there was a Darkhold in every universe that Wanda destroyed, but there was only one book of Vishanti, because you notice Alex made a good point, and what your point was, Alex, that that Defender Strange, 838 Strange, and 616 Strange all were in the same places for the Book of Ashanti.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just
So-
kind of seemed like, the beginning of the movie, you have one Strange go for the Book of Ashanti, then he doesn't get it, then they go to the Illuminati in 838, then they end up going to the same place for the same Book of Ashanti, with the main Strange. And then in the end, they don't even use the Book of Ashanti. I don't know. Like, it kind of feels like we didn't really need the Book of Ashanti in this movie, kind of, to me. Kind of felt like it was used but like, I don't think we needed to go there in the beginning and then go back there in the middle and then not use it at all. It just, I don't know.
Yeah, it was almost pointless, really.
Yeah.
In the end, it was, but
use
in
it
the beginning, we didn't know that. So
No, that's true.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that is true. That is
So-
true.
Go ahead, Andy.
No, go on.
So, say for the last few minutes, you want to talk about the post-credit scene? Get the
Oh,
Clea?
I want to talk about one thing before we
Okay.
go. Because to be totally honest, and I thought that music fight scene was
Awesome.
world class. I mean, I tell you what, if people, if you want to show somebody something from the MCU, to sort of convince somebody that there's quality within the MCU, somebody that's really adamantly against it, show them that. That was just absolute class. From start to finish, it was. I'm now gutted that I didn't see that movie in the IMAX, because I think I bet that would have been amazing in the IMAX. Like the sound, because I think that for me that's the big difference. I mean, I know obviously the screen's massive, blah 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 blah, but the sound is just something else in the IMAX.
How is that in 3D?
So hearing it in IMAX was great, but seeing it in 3D was cool too. So if you can do IMAX 3D, there's your perfect showing of it. Alex, Raymond just says he 1000% agrees with you on the book's thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I like I say, I thought that was really really good, and I cannot wait to see that. I think I can't remember who said it, but somebody on the group said the admission price, that scene is worth the admission price on its own, and I totally agree.
So, quick question here: do you want to see Remy back for Doctor Strange 3? Because we know it's going to happen now.
Yeah, why not?
I agree.
Yeah, why not? I think he done a great job. I think it was a nice mix of that kind of weird and wonderful stuff, but also being, that having that slight edge to it, and still being an MCU movie. I thought we'd done a great job.
Mm-hmm.
So post credits time, Clea.
Yes.
So I have a theory about this post credits scene.
Go on.
I think we're coming full circle with the first Doctor Strange, and Dormammu, just for the fact that him going to the Dark Dimension and doing that time loop was the incursion that Clea was talking about. So I'm calling it now, Doctor Strange in the Dark Dimension. There's your Doctor Strange 3 movie. But what's interesting though is that we have Clea, and she is the niece of Dormammu. Her mom is his sister, and she's the ruler of the Dark Dimension. At one point, Strange is married to her. In one point, she is to Strange as Strange was to the Ancient One. So basically, she's a disciple for Strange. Helps with that. They fought in the Dark Dimension together. Like I said, they were married. And I also believe she's a new Sorcerer Supreme now after the death of the Doctor Strange comic run. So they could be going on that arc as well. But I completely think the next movie is going to be in the Dark Dimension, which also, a couple of things in this movie could also lead to Ghost Rider. So Hell was mentioned. Also, too, the Dark Dimension does have the Spirit of Vengeance, which is also mentioned in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. by Robbie Reyes' Ghost Rider portrayal. So some other ties here as well. I wonder if that could be leading to how they bring Ghost Rider into the mix between Hell, the Dark Dimension, also the Souls of the Damned, and that kind of stuff.
And
I wonder if
didn't they mention Chthon too as the first demon who created Mount Wundagore? I mean, that when I heard that, I was so excited because I've been wanting to hear that forever. So,
So on the Remy thing, Ruben says Remy's another MCU movie, but something else. Lots of cool things he could work with. Raymond says yes, bring him back for more Doctor Strange if you want. I think he gets comics,
Yeah.
And then
I think he does actually.
Yeah.
Agree with that. Yeah.
And Raymond goes,
felt like a comic book movie, didn't it?
Yep. I think it's safe to say Doctor Strange 3 will take place in the Dark Dimension. And back to Raimi too as well. Didn't Raimi want Doctor Strange in this, or Doctor Strange was hinted at in the first Spider-Man trilogy as well? I believe so.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
We've got a Doctor Strange. He said he was trying to name him, wasn't he? In the first
Yeah.
So, but Doctor Strange, no, that's taken. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's a good point actually. Cool,
It's
that's
weird. Weird how things work out like that.
It is. It is. Yeah.
I wonder how they're going to build up though between this movie and the next one for the Dark Dimension and introducing Charlize Theron as Clea. You know, could they do a Disney Plus series to build up into that movie?
Potentially. What a scalp as well, by the way. Getting Charlize Theron. You know, another huge actor coming into the MCU.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on that one. I'll wait to see it before I judge. Her in that superhero type role, I haven't really liked her in the best of those roles. She has some good movies out there. Like she was great as Furiosa and Mad Max. She was good in Monster. But things like Hancock or the Fast and Furious movies, or there was another one too that I wasn't the biggest fan of her. So I'll wait to see.
There was a Netflix movie called Old Guard.
Is that pretty good?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't. It's all right. Basically, they're just people that live forever. They do eventually die, but she was kind of the leader of that group there. I wouldn't call it. It's not really a superhero movie. I wouldn't call it a superhero movie, but
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's got those kind of vibes.
Sounds kind of like the Eternals.
Yeah, it is a little bit like that, I guess. Yeah, it's a little bit
There
like
you go.
But anyway, point is she sort of played that sort of hero-y type thing. I don't know much about Clea, to be honest, but all I meant was, I mean, don't shoot me, but I've never been a fan of Angelina Jolie either. But when she was, brought in for Eternals, I was like, well, wow, you bring in Robert Redford. Not that I'm not a fan of Robert Redford, but people like Robert Redford, Ben Mendelsohn, Mads Mikkelsen, all these huge people, these actors that have, got great credentials. And to be fair, Charlize Theron is one of them. So,
yeah, like I said, I'll wait and see. But like Angelina Jolie, she was great as Tomb Raider, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. She has some range where she's done some good stuff. So I wasn't skeptical about Angelina Jolie. But like I said, we'll see. I do have Snow White too that Jamie mentions. I wasn't a fan of Snow White either. So we'll see.
I'm coming to see what else.
Yeah, but they did miss one huge opportunity in this movie. When they were falling through universes, they should have fell through old Marvel movie universes like Spider-Man, X-Men, Blade, Ghost Rider. Think about that. If they want to do some cool cameos and back to what Luke was saying in our old things, that would have been a perfect time as they're falling through universes, fall through those old movies. Fantastic Four, Inhumans, all those old projects fall through. Howard the Duck, even, fall through them.
I think they missed I think that a big missed opportunity there was that exactly what you were saying. And these cameos didn't need to be big parts of the movie. They could have just been exactly that, like almost throwaway cameos. But I think they missed the opportunity to bring Deadpool over, breaking the fourth wall. I thought that's what was going to happen in the last end credit scene. I thought he was going to be there, break the fourth wall, and be like, why am I here, or I don't know, something like that, and talk to us. Yeah,
that second end credit scene was kind of a waste. I thought, it was a funny throwback to see what happened to him, but it was kind of a waste. They could have done a Deadpool type thing. Why are you guys still here? Go home type of thing, and to kind of make that soft intro. But Raymond agrees. I just because of Raimi, I was expecting them to fall through Toby's universe. So,
we better wrap it up there, guys. Yeah. I'm glad we got this done. I'm glad we had a great engagement from you guys. Ruben, Raymond, Tim, Jamie's there. Who else we had? Roxy on there as well. Thank you for joining us, guys. It's been a pleasure. Any last words, guys? Fred as well. Sorry. Any last words?
Only thing I just want to say is there is no better way to have Multiverse of Madness Mom on Mother's Day weekend. Be a movie about a mother's love. I mean, great way to have Mother's Day weekend. But,
And with that, we got to go.
All right then, guys.
Cheers.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for listening, guys. Take care.
Why don't you tell them about the time we faced? All right. Well, as I remember. At Avenger headquarters.